Okay, it looks like it's 3:40, and my son wants me to take him to the car rental place at 7 o'clock. I'm really not wanting to do that, but I guess in a few hours I'll have to drop him off. It's 3:40 in the morning. Okay, so it's Sunday, so I really don't plan on going outside of the house today. I'm staying in. Um, I don't really want to deal with people at all right now. But so I was thinking today that thinking of other reasons why people have treated me the way that they have, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I'm not like an overly sexual person. As a matter of fact, there were times where I actually identified myself as asexual. And some people would be like, well, some people have a hard time understanding what that is. It's basically, I'm not very interested in sex. Meaning, it's not a priority of mine. The drive is just really not there. I don't really, I could take it or leave it. It's not something that tends to be on my mind as much as it is other people. When I was a teenager, of course, you have your curiosities because you want to know what it's all about and everything. But then as you get to be an adult, you're just like, okay, well, whatever, I could take it or leave it. And that's how I feel about it. It's not something that drives me. It's not something that motivates me. And really, it doesn't particularly interest me. And that's not a slap in the face to anybody. It's just the way it is. So some people would say, well, how is it that you can find like certain celebrities? And I hate it when people bring up celebrities because celebrities are unattainable for the most part. And they might be good looking. Okay, like I've mentioned David Bowie like a bunch of times because he's a very handsome, well, he was a very handsome man. I would say he was more handsome as he got older. But he's got the chiseled features and everything, and that mixed eyeball that kind of helped him and everything. But he's a beautiful person. He may be physically appealing to look at, but as far as having like a major sexual attraction, it just really doesn't have. I don't really have that, and I think that's a form of discrimination. It's not something I can help. I can't help it. And there obviously people will assume, well, can't you just, and I know a lot of men will be thinking in the back of my mind, well, you just haven't tried me yet. Okay, please stop. It's not about that. And that's where people, there's a lot of ignorance when it comes to that. There's a difference between celibacy, being celibate, and then there's a difference between being asexual. Celibacy is like when you're doing it, like for example, let's just use for example a girl who's in the bloom of her youth, like maybe 18 years old, and she might be extremely attractive to men, and she just doesn't want to have sex because she wants to hold off till marriage. Okay, so she's practicing celibacy because she wants to be reserved. It's not that she doesn't want to have sex. She might think about that 24 hours a day, but she chooses to be reserved because she's waiting for, marriage or whatever. Okay, so she's holding herself back on purpose. Okay, asexuality means it's not something that really motivates you, and it can't be helped. It's not a priority either, so some people will say, well, maybe you're gay. And I thought, I kept thinking, okay, well, maybe it doesn't even interest me to try to be with a woman on an intimate level. I'm more of a person who wants to be on a emotional level, and that's plenty for me, and that's very strange for a lot of people, and I don't expect other people to understand it. And just because I had a conversation with somebody about it, I don't think it should have been blown up to the point of where it is. And there's a lot of people who are homosexuals, and they're getting far more assistance being placed for jobs than I am. Okay, I can't help that. I've been accused of all kinds of ridiculous things, which is just absolutely foolish. Like, for example, some people think because you're well groomed, take care of yourself, you enjoy things like, I don't know, earrings and nail polish and stuff, that means then that doesn't make any sense. How could you be asexual if if you wear you enjoy those sort of things, I'll explain it to you. It's because you enjoy it as a form of artistic expression. You like color, you like rearranging and coordinating, and that's pretty much as far as that goes. And that's not to say that I can't find, people attractive or physically appealing, because I can tell who's good looking, who should be on a cover of a magazine, who has the what do you call it, star quality, who has those sort of things. But for me, sex is not a priority. It probably never will be, and that's just how I feel. And so that's not a put down to men, and that I also think that maybe somehow or another that got thrown out there, and it really shouldn't have. It should have nothing to do with work. And really, why should I be punished for something that I can't help? And people always try to re-educate people, like, well, maybe you should try this person. Like a guy will say, well, maybe you need to try me, or some crazy stuff, or she just hasn't had me yet, or some crazy stuff. But I'm content. I really don't. It's not something that, it's not a priority with me. It just isn't. And so I think being in a relationship with somebody would be very difficult for me, because I really would not be interested the way that they would be interested. So I can't help that. I can't change that. It's not something that can be modified. It just cannot be. And so, like I said, you're younger, you're curious, because that's all people are talking about. They're shoving it down your throat 24 hours a day in every movie scene. It's in videos, it's in magazines, it's played out. I mean, we live in a very sex sells, basically, so it's kind of like you can't help but be interested or curious about it. So when you finally do, and it's not quite is intense or whatever, it's and then there's a lot that goes into the relationships that to me are not of really. I'm more of an autonomous person, meaning that I would rather just have emotional bonds more so than physical or sexual ones. And so that is just the way it is. I mean, and that the very fact that I'm just throwing that out there, because it's like, well, what is it that people have an issue with, yeah, I'm not sexually driven at all, really, at all. I mean, really, I'm not. But that's not to say, and see, a lot of people think if you're like asexual, or you're one of those sort of people, that you're looking down on people who enjoy a sex life, and that's not true. Like, I fully understand that the majority of people enjoy that. It's a normal or common slash normal. I'll use those words interchangeably today, but usually I don't. But it's to be expected among the majority. So I'm not standing in judgment of people who enjoy that, okay? But I do stand in judgment of people who try to hold that against me, and that's wrong, okay? It's wrong, because I have a right to feel that way. And making this a work issue obviously is an issue of sexual harassment. You're not supposed to. I believe that's California state law. I referred to that before about sexual identity or whatever. And that's discrimination, and I'm just not one of those people. I mean, I could probably grow old all by myself and be completely happy with that, and just have social contacts and that sort of thing, and I would be fine with that. I don't want to. I don't want that pressure, that outside pressure. I don't want that. I just don't. It's just not something I care about, plain and simple. So there is no difference. I mean, people get it confused, and they're projecting how they feel. Like, for example, some women some women only dress up if they're interested in a man. Okay, they might be plain Janes all the time, and then all of a sudden they develop a crush, and then all of a sudden here they go. They're all dolled up. And then some people have always enjoyed those sort of things, regardless. And I was one of those people, regardless. I've always liked color. I've always liked clothes. I even got interested in making clothes, which is what I do as a hobby, not as a career. And I wouldn't want to as a career, but that's just the way it is. So there's a distinction there, and that's what I enjoy as a hobby and what I do for personal fulfillment. But they're not the same. And so a lot of people think the way that they think, they're projecting it onto somebody else, and that's not the case. So I think maybe some people kind of are holding, my lack of interest in that sort of thing against me, and it's wrong. Now, some people are asexual, but they choose to have romantic relationships. People think, well, how could that be? How could people have romantic relationships without, sex? It's just more like some people get butterflies in their stomach that don't necessarily lead to sex. Sometimes it's more you're interested in that person's intellectual abilities, or you enjoy their conversation, you like their sense of humor. These sort of things are what attract you, and that's what makes the relationship stay. Just like an intense friendship, or kind of like a teddy bear that you hug every night. It's more that kind of emotion, but it doesn't go any further than that. It is. I suggest that you look up information on asexuality. It is out there, but I'm just trying to figure out like what the hell is people's problem, because I think what happened to me is an absolute tragedy, and it should have never happened. And I'm tired of it. So I'm just kind of brainstorming at 3 something in the morning, getting close to 4. So I'm